We are Rogue Media Sports.
Hey, it's Mark Goodman.
And I'm Alan Light.
On today's podcast, Record Store Day founder Carrie Colleton is joining us to discuss the April 20th RSD special releases.
Plus, we'll talk live with our audience, the Sound Up Pod Squad, and find out who still listens to vinyl. And some updates from the Beatles universe.
Oh, good. Sound Up with Mark Goodman and Alan Light, the only music podcast that matters. Get it on Pandora, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
It is a Doomsday Podcast. First place, Dallas Cowboys get a 31-23 win over the Washington Redskins on Thanksgiving, and alongside, of course, is Ed Werder. We are in a luxury suite just moments after this game as we record this, the Doomsday Podcast. And, Ed, you were tonight had a unique vantage point. This is at least the third, fourth time this season you've been with Westwood One. You went from Monday night, one of the greatest offensive performances in the history of this league. You were a part of that one on the sideline for Westwood One. And then tonight, you're on the sideline. Did it look about the same to you?
I was able to keep up with the score of this game a lot more easily. Mm-hmm. The interesting thing last week when I did the game, the Rams and Chiefs, was I saw a kickoff coverage and tackle spill into the Rams sideline, and I saw Todd Gurley get his foot stepped on and appear uncomfortable thereafter, and it obviously played a role in his performance in the game in that he only touched the ball like 16 times, fewest in his career recently. I didn't see anything of that magnitude in the Cowboys game as I was working both sidelines. The most interesting observational reporting I could do was, it was a surprise to everyone, and Scott Linehan said in the locker room after the game that it wasn't until the final minutes that they decided not to play Tyron Smith at left tackle because of that neck injury that he suffered against Atlanta last week. He had practiced sparingly, but the full expectation everybody had was that he was going to play. And to see Cameron Fleming out there and call that in, right away, bring a lot of attention to that, which I felt good about given what happened in the first half. But it was interesting when Cameron Fleming came off after the first series. Tyron Smith was right there with him, and he had his big black brace on his right arm, so obviously there's pain radiating down his arm from his neck. And just trying to coach him and calm him down and get him into the game. And I'm not sure he really accomplished that in the first half because he was beaten pretty badly by the defensive end on that side of the field. Preston Smith had 7 pressures in the first half and 4 quarterback hits and a sack and a half. So
it wasn't exactly, compared to Chaz Green, it was one of the greatest performances by a backup left tackle.
It was Anthony Munoz, compared to Chaz Green.
Yes.
Chaz Green just got cut the other day by the New Orleans Saints, by the way. I just saw that. But yeah, I think we'll talk more about that because I think I'm impressed with one thing in this game primarily, and that is the things that the Cowboys proved were strengths and areas where they had depth, where last year that failure was their undoing.
All right, we're going to get to a lot of that. We have one of the greatest wide receiver performances we've seen in a long time. This offense suddenly has extremely good balance, which is not something we expected. And this team is getting turnovers. They're getting takeaways, which is not something we've seen them do in the last few years.
And on the other side of it, they're playing mistake-free football,
yes,
which is the only way they win. They are 6-0 this year when they don't turn the football over. They have not been beaten if they don't turn the ball over.
Yeah.
And if they turn the ball over even once, they have not won a game.
Remarkable. I was hoping Ed would save that. It is time.
Plenty more.
It
Great
is time for Frito to play the music. All right, it is that Doomsday Podcast. Moments after the game. Of course, we're up in a luxury suite where we belong. This podcast belongs. Thanks to Mark Murray, the owner of this suite, for what he's provided. And Ed, this was
What's it cost for one of these?
It's cheap.
It's cheap. Inexpensive. Jerry's lowered the price.
Inexpensive. And Jordan Spieth, by the way, in his wedding party, he gets married Saturday, and Mark got to go spend a little time with him. Smiley Kaufman Ricky Fowler, Justin Thomas, the whole gang was up there. And so
I'll have to see if I can get a little game together this weekend.
Yeah, you would do well with those guys. Yeah. You might need a few strokes from them. But Ed, to start this thing off with, I mean, let's put the same thing in perspective, which is what we do best. Insider knowledge, all those things we gain. I like you after the game. The offensive staff sort of just congregated around you. I won't mention who it was, but they all were sort of drawn to you after this game. But Ed, first of all, this team, and you'll hear from Jerry, you'll hear me ask Jerry this exact thing. They were 3-5, left for dead. The only reason we were doing big numbers on this podcast is because they were losing and they were excited about who would be the next head coach. I mean, Jason Garrett was gone. And here we are, 6-5. Cowboys are...
They have the tiebreaker advantage over the Redskins because they're 3-1 in the division and the Redskins are 2-1 in the division.
Okay, have a slight tiebreaker there. But the Redskins, without the quarterback, and Colt McCoy tried to hang in there, didn't have a great performance. It just looks like the Cowboys are in charge of this division right now. Who in the world, not even the biggest optimist that Jerry Jones is, could have expected something like this. And here they are. I mean, I'm not. You saw two teams in the Chiefs and the Rams the other night. This team doesn't resemble those teams in any way, but this team has a legitimate shot now at making a playoff run. And that's the whole goal. You get in there and then see what could happen after that.
I think there's a vast difference between the Chiefs and the Saints and the Rams and the Patriots and the Cowboys. But you had to be impressed with the fact that I really wasn't sure they could score, But tonight they scored on some big plays in a way that we hadn't seen recently. We knew that they could drive the football and win a low-scoring game because their defense is hard to score against, and they don't turn the ball over on offense, and they have a great player in Ezekiel Elliott. But the three things that were the Cowboys' undoing last season that they really concentrated on, and I think the benefits were obvious today, were they couldn't win without Sean Lee. And so they drafted Leighton Vander Esch in the first round. The Cowboys are now 5-1 with Leighton Vander Esch this season, starting for Sean Lee, who's played fewer than 25% of the defensive snaps this year. The other thing that was their undoing last year was, remember, they went to Atlanta, as we referenced a minute ago, and Tyron Smith didn't play, and they gave up 8 sacks, 6 of them to one average player. Never seen an average player dominate a game like Adrian Claiborne did that night.
And he got a nice contract out of it.
Yeah, he went to New England. So they concentrated on creating some depth there. They drafted Connor Williams, and he started for most of the season. I think they have a better player in there now, in Xavier Su'a-Filo, a more physical player.
That's a problem for another day. The fact that some guy off the street is better than the second-round rookie left guard.
They had their best offensive day of the year, and they had a backup center, a backup left guard, and a backup left tackle tonight. They had 3 backups, and all of them were on one side from the center left, the most important part of the offensive line, and their running back went for over 100 yards. Their quarterback scored a rushing touchdown, and while they did have some pressure early in the game, as we alluded to, they were able to withstand it, adjust in the second half, get the ball out quicker. And then the other thing is they didn't have anybody who could make a big play in the passing game. And like I said at the time, to Jerry's credit, at the bye week after the loss to Washington, they went out and they got Amari Cooper for a first-round pick. And the game Amari Cooper had today enhanced his value to the Cowboys and lessened what they have to pay the Raiders, because the better the record is, the lower the draft pick the Raiders get. And so I think, like Zeke Elliott told me after the game, you saw the value of Amari Cooper today. And when I was talking about the offensive line, I should have mentioned that they made a change in the coaching staff there at the same time, the same week after the Redskins game when they got Amari Cooper. They fired their offensive line coach, and they brought in Mark Colombo, elevated Mark Colombo, brought in Hudson Houck. That probably played no small role in their ability to win with 3 backups on the offensive line.
Where could this team be? Think about that. If they had gotten the offensive line coach right from the start, gotten a guy like Mike Solari that they actually wanted, and he's been good for Seattle, and Amari Cooper was somehow on this team from the start of the season. I'm not saying they'd be undefeated, but I think they'd be better than 6-5. And fortunately for them, in this division, it doesn't matter. You don't have to be great. 6-5 is the leader. of this division now, and they can head on. I did want to update folks. People ask about my formula for Jason Garrett's future, and
what was it at one point? It was at the low point when they lost to the Titans. It was 85%, right?
He came up to 50-50 after last week. He is now a 65% chance of being the Cowboys head coach.
I know Jerry was passing a lot of money around down there tonight after the game in the hallway. I think he extended Amari Cooper. He paid DeMarcus Lawrence, Dak Prescott, Zeke Elliott. Are you sure you didn't extend Jason Garrett tonight?
Crazier things have happened. Now, he will not extend the head coach during the season, although what will be funny is people will start making that suggestion. Now they'll flip back to the other side and go, boy, this has been an amazing turnaround. But that one win they had in Philly, they were getting ready to, I think, get rid of Linehan. There were reports that they were getting ready, when
they've all denied all that.
They fired the offensive, yes, they denied it, but when they got rid of the offensive line coach, that they were ready to get rid of Linehan at that point too. Well, and there's Linehan tonight, talking, and he's smiling, and he usually doesn't speak after games.
Yeah, well, there was credit to be had, and he deserves it. I know that came out the way it came out, but he deserves it for all the criticism that he's taken. And every week he's stood up and he's answered questions from reporters who basically called for his job. So he deserves to stand there and take credit for some of what happened tonight. And I just don't think that. I think it's funny that the Cowboys, they felt this urgency. Jerry and Steven felt just this massive need to justify giving up a first-round pick for Amari Cooper. Everything that happened that was positive, they attributed to Amari Cooper. You couldn't see it necessarily, but geez, Cole Beasley, he was getting opportunities now because of that. Gallup was getting down the field. You're running the football because of, you couldn't really see what was happening. But tonight he validated it with his clear, obvious performance. That was sheer greatness what we saw tonight, because those are plays I haven't seen. I was thinking in the first half, how come the Cowboys never run a slant in the middle of the field? Yeah. And then he scores twice on slants, 40 and 90 yards.
Yeah, and it was interesting because who was that cornerback for the Redskins that missed the tackle? Moreau, I believe it was, Dr. Moreau. He was, it's a kind of a literary joke. He was able to break that tackle and then take off for 90 yards. Ed, it's been a remarkable, just his presence so far we've talked about, but tonight we saw him actually put up huge numbers. And think about that. 9 targets, 8 receptions on those 9 targets for 180 yards and 2 touchdowns. God love Dez, but think about it. Dez would have 1 million targets sometimes and then would maybe he was doing well if he had 40-50% catch rate on that. And Cooper now is just getting open, and then watching him run these routes. You'll hear Jerry in a minute. Jerry, I don't know did you hear Jerry the way he signed off? You were kind of lingering around there, but you also had other people approaching you, as they usually do. But Jerry said it reminded him of a fine Swiss clock.
Oh, really?
The way he comes out. And I don't know exactly. I was listening, and Jerry kind of makes the sound. You'll hear it. In fact, Ed, let's do that right now. We're going to let you hear Jerry Jones talking about, and Ed, this is where you came in at some point and started asking him questions. This is right after I asked him about the Cowboys having been in trouble, season on the brink after that Titans loss. And did Jerry ever envision a lead in the division at 6-5?
Well, no, I wouldn't even in my thoughts go that far. But I did think that we had played some pretty good teams when we were 3-5, and I did see that we could have won 2 of those or 3 of those that we lost, but also see how we could have lost 2 of the ones of the 3 we won. So, but I really thought that Amari could make a difference and get some, if you will, punch into this offense. So I really held that out. I must tell you, I've been hoping for help on the way from getting Irvin back, getting Gregory back, maybe getting Gregory back. I slide off into hoping a lot, and we were hoping we'd get it. As it turns out right now, we really may have this happen for us as we get on into the rest of the schedule. I think we've got help on the way.
Do you expect Tyron Smith to be back next week?
I do. We didn't expect him not to play tonight. What happened? That stinger. Well, I don't want to make those comparisons because those are 3 Hall of Famers. But in their own right, in today's game, those 3 guys can carry the name. And I think we can build it. And we then had a great offensive line, really. If you line them up and see who we had, and there's similarity there. We had Jay Novacek that was our short yardage guy, so to speak, and so we've got those are differences in those guys that made them all up. So what you told me when Jay retired, he said we may have lost really the most important cog in our whole show here. But anyway, they got it going. They had a good formula, a good rapport. I think can't happen here. Yes, nothing tomorrow will be a big part of this for a long time to come. He's found himself.
What did the players do for Gallup? And can you talk about, are you flying him back after tonight for the funeral?
Yes, and yes. The answer is yes. And he's when you're young, death is really hard to just live with. And not that he's having any trouble with that, but the point is it's hard. And you just have to realize that about young people. And in any way you can, be there for him. And this team sure gathered around him in a big way. And I'm not just talking about physically and every night. They've really given him a lot of support.
What did they do for him in the locker room? Did they do something for him in the locker room after the game?
Yeah, I don't want to get into the detail of it, but it was very meaningful, very, very, and Jason and all of the team and everybody else shared in it, and about as genuine, touching a moment as I've been a part of.
DeMarcus Lawrence had the interception today. At this point, is he just digging deeper in your checkbook right now?
Who is that?
DeMarcus Lawrence.
Well, we've got several of them out there that are gaining on it. In my mind, that Amari looked to me like he's making a bid for some cash.
Open your checkbook.
So, what kind of stuff? I mean, there was a lot of celebrations on the field. You got Dak jumping in the kettle and Amari doing the free throw and Zeke putting the 21. What was your celebration like in the press box or in your box when you saw Amari running down that sideline?
Well, of course, you just can't imagine how you go from putting the dirt on it till you're raising up like Dracula when he wakes up. Seriously, I was elated when Lawrence got that interception, and especially after the big play there with Amari. So all of those guys, you look out there, and those guys that are making those plays have worked and have the talent to make them.
You're so big on the Salvation Army. How much did you enjoy the 2 celebrations in the red kettle?
I thought nothing is orchestrated at all, and it's all impromptu. But maybe one of the biggest moments we've had in our association was with the Salvation Army was when Zeke jumped in, and this is good stuff out there tonight. I love it, and the attention going to help just making aware. That's the purpose of this association, is to just create additional awareness for that great organization. And they appreciate it so much. And there's 3 million volunteers out here that are involved in these red kettles on Christmas Day. And to every one of them, you're giving them a thank you.
So you're even willing to live with that penalty in that situation?
Yes, I am. And any fine coming, I'll gladly add on to my credit. They've knocked the fire out of my butt already this year. So with these fines, I'm about to run short.
Hey, about how Dak's responded since the Tennessee game, especially taking care of the football?
Well, he's you're surprised almost when he doesn't take care of the football. That's his that's his game. And a game like tonight, you just look up at the stats and you see their turnovers and our turnovers. But what goes with that is a lot of other things, but I just think we're seeing a winning quarterback right now.
You think so much of Sean Payton. You watched tonight's game, and how much are you looking forward to next week's game to kind of see where you guys are?
Well, the last time I remember when Bill was coaching here at Parcells, Sean came in here and his fullback made 4 touchdowns on us, 4 touchdowns, and beat us. And then they had a little vibration, whatever you want to call it, on the plane, and they just flew all the way to Denver to get back to New Orleans so that they could have it all. Now that's a coach.
Right. Has the fight been set for March 3rd, 16th?
And I'm not for sure if we've got our date there, but we've got a commitment. We've got a commitment.
There it will be here.
We've got
the date is not done.
Yes. And I should know if the firm date is there, but
I think it's already been announced.
No, it's been announced. The dates haven't been announced.
We're planning.
I don't think you covered that.
But we're planning to have a fight.
What is
March
16th
about Gallup to come here and play today after this emotional week? To tell you more about him.
It tells me that he really wanted and took comfort being with his teammate, and his teammates wanted that. And he's just such a young person, and this way he gets to be with his team family here, and then he gets to be with his family tomorrow. We make sure he gets down there tonight.
Just to be clear, you did send your plane Tuesday to pick him up,
yes,
and you're flying him back tomorrow.
Yes. I really don't want to say that, but you can say it if you want to.
Okay.
No, but
I got you.
Okay.
Thanks, Jerry.
I'm sure they asked you on this, but Cooper's 24, Dak's 23, 24. Zeke's 21, 22. I'm excited to see these guys grow together.
Yeah. And it's like I say, when you see them make the plays, you look at their talent level, you look at how we depend on them for their contribution, then it's really, I'm optimistic about the future. When I see Amari, I see Zeke, I see Dak, I see that offensive line, relatively young offensive line. So I feel real good about this from the standpoint of them together.
It's too early to say the new triplets, right?
What?
It's too early to say
I
the
wouldn't
new
do
triplets.
that. Those are 3 Hall of Famers.
We can say
I do think this. I do think this. We haven't had anybody just smoothly move away from them like that in a long time. Okay, it was just like a fine Swiss clock, just chunk.
Thank you.
There he is, Jerry Jones, commenting right after the game. A very excited Jerry as he heads off. What does he do on Thanksgiving, Ed?
They go to Stuttgart, don't they, to hunt ducks and have their holiday? But I think Steven's son has
John Steven.
John Steven has a one more game with Arkansas this weekend.
If I were him, I would think about transferring. I mean, that's a pretty rough team right now.
He's not used to losing like this.
No, and boy, they've had a rough go. And by the way, the coach of their team of Arkansas, his son is the quarterback at Highland Park now. All right, as we continue on the Doomsday Podcast live from a luxury suite. Just about an hour after this game, after the big win for the Cowboys. And let's talk a little bit more about this offense. Zeke Elliott has a really nice day. 26 rushes, 121 yards, and a touchdown, and was able to. Did you like him throwing the cash in? Somebody had a prop ready to go. Used to be props would get you in trouble,
which they did later.
It did get him in trouble later, but the photographer, I don't know where you were standing when all this happened, the cameraman, he had this thing set up. He runs up, gives him a little cash, and then he puts the $21. Did you have a good vantage point for that whole scene?
No, I didn't, and I'm not sorry that I missed it. I saw him throw Dak in the kettle, and saw the yellow flag and the 15-yard penalty for that nonsense, but it was good entertainment, but it wasn't a good penalty for the Cowboys.
No, and it helped the Redskins get back, at least make it 31-20.
But you know what? For context, remember, 3 backup offensive linemen in this game against a Redskins team that really precipitated all of this change that the Cowboys underwent at the bye week right out of the last Redskins game. And a lot of it was because Zeke Elliott was so ineffective in that game. Remember, he had 15 carries for 33 rushing yards, the second worst performance of his NFL career. So tonight, look at the stats he had and the circumstances under which he attained those. 3 backup offensive linemen out there, making it, I think, all the more remarkable. But the guy who's making the difference on this, he's the guy. Like, football's a simple game. Like, it's get the football to your best players in space. Well, until now, the Cowboys had one great player, Ezekiel Elliott. And now maybe in Amari Cooper they have a top 15 receiver. But the thing with Amari Cooper, I was talking to Sanjay Lal before the game, and we were talking about Cooper, and he said the thing that he didn't know about him that makes him unique and able to get open is not so much his first step, but his second step off his plant when he changes direction. He's never seen a guy with that kind of foot quickness and speed that he's able to plant, drive, and change direction, and that's how he gets open so quickly. And so not only did he have an incredible night catching the football, he had like 5 first downs in the game. His first 3 catches were all on third down that went for first down, so he's extending drives when Zeke and Dak scored. He's part of that. And then he makes the 2 huge plays and has, 119 yards after the catch? How many times have we seen a Cowboys receiver get 119 yards in a season after the catch? I mean, these guys all catch the ball coming back or falling down. This guy was able to, make play. I think clearly Dak has a great chemistry with the guy, with Amari. He's trusted him from the very beginning.
And they've been together for, a month now?
Yeah.
And they already have this kind of chemistry. We've got some grades to give out and that type of thing. And Ed, you had some really good things on Amari Cooper. I do want to let people hear, Ed was with Westwood One tonight doing his sideline work. Ed, right after the game, got to be with a couple of players for the Cowboys, but one in particular who had a big night, as we just talked about, Zeke Elliott. Here he is with Ed just moments after the Cowboys' 31-23 win.
Zeke, was this the breakout game you've been looking for? You had 100 yards. Amari had 2 big touchdown catches. Does this justify the trade for Amari?
I think it definitely does. Whenever you can get a player of that caliber, especially get him before we probably were going to get a receiver in the first round anyway, but if you can get one with experience in the middle of the season before, it's great. Now, you saw the value of Amari Cooper today. It's kind of funny. I've been telling him all week, I was like, hey, this your game right here. This your breakout game. And he damn sure came out and played his tail off, and I'm just so glad we got him, and he's a great addition to our team.
How has it changed the equation for you as a running back? You're on quite a run. You've had your 600-yard game today.
Coop, he draws attention. He gets those guys out the box. He makes it easier for me, and he helps in that RPO game. The first touchdown he scored was an RPO, and so just whenever you get a guy who, whenever he touches the ball, the whole stadium holds their breath. You got to get that guy.
Last year, your season was destroyed when you had to play without you and without Tyron Smith. You didn't have Tyron Smith today. You essentially had 3 backup offensive linemen among your 5 starters. What kind of job did they do?
Oh, they played their tails off. They're a little bit shaky in protection. We were today, but Cam came in. He did a great job, we were able to dominate up front and run the football. So those guys did a great job. I wouldn't expect anything less than that, because just that culture in that room, those guys are all going to perform.
After all the adversity you guys have been through, the struggles offensively, 31 points, your 3rd straight win, you're back into a tie for first place with the Redskins. What sense of accomplishment do you feel as you get ready to play New Orleans next?
Honestly, we got ourselves back in it. That's great, but we got to have the same mentality going through the rest of the season. Because, we're tied for first place, but we got to keep going. We need more. We need more. So we got some work to do. We're gonna celebrate this win. We're gonna enjoy Thanksgiving, and can't wait to get back to work.
Happy Thanksgiving. You lead the NFL in rushing, as is usually the case.
And there he was, Zeke Elliott with Ed Werder. Ed, did you have an opportunity after that in the spirit of the season? Did you drop any cash in the Salvation Army kettle on your way off the field?
I haven't been paid for my last couple of Doomsday podcasts.
That's not
yet,
even remotely true.
I didn't have any cash on me tonight, so no, I did not donate. But of course, anytime they stop me at the mall, I give them $1.
You give $1. That's nice, Ed. That's really. What did Jerry say? Jerry said they hit him a lick. They hit it. The Salvation Army's got after his butt, I think is what he said.
Really?
As only Jerry could. Before we get to stretch,
nobody's done more for the Salvation Army in their history than Jerry.
Yeah, no, he's just saying, they've come, they collect on his pledges. I think he's put up a lot of money, is what he was saying.
Yeah.
And tonight they had I was in our friend Mark Murray's luxury suite tonight watching Meghan Trainor. What did you do during halftime? Did you watch the young lady do her halftime show, or were you like?
No, it was kind of just background noise while I charged my phone and check for any stats I might need. Do you have
a favorite Meghan Trainor song?
I wouldn't know a Meghan Trainor song if you sang it to me, and I hope you won't.
Okay, before we get to stretch, though, and we're about to, thanks to the folks at MyBookie, always talk about them, and unbelievable reviews. The mobile site, very easy to use, and make your way there. They pay. Ed, there are some of these folks that don't always get your money back to you immediately. The feeling is maybe in that moment you'll get caught up and you'll bet it all before they give it back to you. They get it back to you immediately. You can even bet the over-under on how many fantasy points a player will score each game. Join now, and MyBookie will match your deposit dollar for dollar. Use the promo code Doomsday. DOOMSDAY to activate the offer. Visit MyBookie online today. That's MyBookie, MyBookie. And don't forget to use the promo code Doomsday when creating your account to claim up to $1,000 in free play. You play, you win, you get paid.
And it is everybody's favorite segment. That's a Stretch. Glenn Stretch Smith joins us after this Cowboys victory, and now they are in first place tie with the Redskins. And let's start right in on the defensive side of the ball, Stretch. And let's start with the secondary for the Cowboys. Obviously, pass rush helped a lot from what they were able to pull off. But how did this group play? And then you actually saw a couple of interceptions, not something we're used to with this unit.
Yeah, and that's still something that does concern me from the two starting corners. I mean, Awuzie and Jones, I think are good cover guys. But I tell you, I don't see ball skills. I mean, Awuzie dropped an interception down there, and then Jones had an opportunity. They threw at him, and I mean, he acted like he hadn't seen a ball thrown his way in about 10 years. So that concerns me a little bit. I do think that the secondary, and I like the way they tackle. I mean, Heath is a physical guy. Woods made the pick. This secondary to me is still iffy, and I say that because going into what's going to be a very critical game against the Saints next week, if they're going to have any chance to hang with the Saints, I mean, they're going to have to get some play out of and I'm saying some hands-on footballs out of the two starting corners. Again, though, this group is playing good enough to continue to get, to grade what I would consider to be a winning grade. And I'm giving them a winning grade, especially because of Woods' pick. But they have got to start to get their hands on some more footballs and see if, those balls that are contested balls, they can go up and get them. And right now I'm going to give this group a B- for the job they did against Washington.
Well, that was the knock on Awuzie, too, is that he doesn't track the ball well and he doesn't catch it. And we've seen evidence of that all season long.
No doubt, and I think the same thing with Jones. And him being a safety, you would think that he would have some better ball skills than that. But that really concerns me. And I mean, I don't even care about sometimes about catching it. I mean, I'm talking about just get your hand on the dang thing. But anyway, I do like the safeties. I think Brown is a good player. I saw some good things out of Jordan Lewis continues to kind of flash at you every once in a while. So, for that reason, and again, because of the interception that Woods made, I'm giving him a B-.
All right, the B- for the secondary. Linebackers, Stretch. We saw Damian Wilson, the outside linebacker, racing downfield trying to cover Vernon Davis. That did not work out on a 53-yard touchdown for the Redskins. But what were your overall thoughts on this group?
Yeah, and again, that they caught him in the right coverage. Davis was running that deep cross, and that's something that obviously I do believe that. I mean, Sean Payton will see that and try to. I've seen him do that in the past, where he gets his guys isolated on your linebackers. I still see. I mean, I really am. I'm almost blown away by Van Der Esch. I mean, to see him make that tackle in the open field. I mean, he is so big and so long. I still see Jalen getting better. And so, as a whole, that group is very productive. They're very sound in what they do and how they fill gaps. And I'm going to give that group a B+.
They won. It's worth noting, I think they won again without Sean Lee. And Sean Lee has only played like 25% of the defensive snaps this season. This really would have been an unthinkable accomplishment as recently as last year that they could pull this off at linebacker. That'd be a strength of a defense that's creating a winning effort on a weekly basis.
And I think you make a great point. I mean, when you think about, them arguably losing the best player on defense and to continue to play at the level they're playing at. I mean, that's why I'm giving this linebacking core, winning grade after winning grade after winning grade, because of the job that really they're and how they play as a unit.
And by the way, good job by Jalen Smith coming out here tonight, this afternoon before the game in a Chuck Halley throwback jersey and honoring the Cowboys great who had such a wonderful career and played a lot on Thanksgiving. I thought that was a good move by Jalen Smith. Okay, let's look at the defensive line. Gregory got in there, made some plays, thought the speed rush was good from him. And then, of course, DeMarcus Lawrence, who Ed corralled a couple of big-time Cowboys players. I don't know if you know the stretch. He was doing Westwood one work. Great work by Ed down there. What did you make of the defensive line and what they were able to accomplish?
I didn't see as many good things as I have seen out of this group, and I guess I anticipated them to really get more pressure. I got a little concerned that they allowed McCoy outside the pocket and to do some things outside the pocket. Now, Lawrence is so athletic. I mean, he knew when the tackle tried. I mean, he played off that cut block and knew, hey, they're trying to cut me to get my hands down because they want to throw some kind of tunnel or bubble. He goes up and makes the interception, and I'm still looking for that guy that can get on the other side. I didn't see Gregory do the things that I'd seen out of him. I mean, continue to flash. I think they are missing Irving a little bit. The rotation, they put the Kansas kid in there, and I thought he did okay. I thought Collins did okay today. But, I'm going to really give them what I felt like was just kind of a hard hat, kind of a working day, and a B, B minus as a grade.
A B. Okay, so wait, you're B minus. I need you to kind of come, give me a strong one way or the other.
I'm going to tell you. I'm going to tell you. I don't like it when somebody makes a 79. I go on and give them a B, even though it should be a high C. I'm going to stay right there with a B grade. And I just think that they're giving. I mean, to me, when you look at that group as a whole today, I didn't see the finish that I was looking for from that front four. And they have gotten pressure this year, really with four all year and consistently. And I don't think It bothered me today that they allowed him to get out of the pocket and make some plays. So,
yeah.
You know what? I'll give him a B, and I'll stand right with that. I appreciate you looking for me to grade it on the curve a little bit. But
I wanted to clarify that. I like Price and Woods and some of the work they did coming back after being injured. Okay, let's go to the offensive side of the ball, and why don't we start with the highlight of this whole thing, and that was Amari Cooper having a breakout game. We've obviously bragged on him and what he's done for this offense. This is the first time we've just seen him completely take the top off of an opposing defense. And I say that, but he actually got down the field and made, run after catch kind of things. What did you make of the receiving core today?
He really is. He's a polished route runner. I mean, he knows how to set guys up. He knows how to get inside. I think he really works his hands good. I like seeing that out of a receiver. At halftime, I'm watching the game and I'm asking myself why is Lanahan not taking more deep shots with this guy? I mean, Washington was crowded up in there. They continued to play 8-9 man box. I mean, they were not scared of you beating them deep. Now they hit that seam throw where he caught it and ran it, and then he caught that curl where he hit it up in there and obviously turned it up for a touchdown. But I do think the receiving core is going to have to get their issues timed up with this quarterback to get some deep balls. I'm talking about some 30 and 40-yard throws. Get the ball down the field. That still concerns me. That has nothing to do with the receivers. I'm talking about as a coordination of the entire passing game. And finally, he did hit that seam throw that allowed him to hit it for 90 yards. But obviously you see he's got that run after catch ability, and he's got that top end gear. I'd like to see Lanahan use that more to stretch defenses vertically and press that ball down the field. But as a group, and how they performed today, how they caught the football, what kind of routes they run. I mean, I'm giving that group an A.
A for the wide receivers. What about the tight ends with Jarwin actually making some plays, and it seemed like they were using him in the run game as well. And then, of course, in the short yardage, they like to send Schultz in there, one of your favorite young rookies for this team. How the tight ends play?
Yeah, and I mean, he's still soft as a Krispy Kreme donut as far as blocking, but they do like to get him the football. And I saw Gathers get in there, and he looks like he's still trying to make his way. I do like that Jarwin. They can move him, so obviously he's a smart guy. I think they missed Swaim a little bit here, but overall, I thought that group played okay. They gave you a winning effort today, and for that, I'm going to give the tight ends a B.
All right, and let's move up to the offensive line, and your guy, Suafilo. You've really fallen hard for him, but I want to start in particular, have you sound off on Cam Fleming filling in for Tyron Smith, not able to go today. I guess he could have gone, but they were able to rest him. What did you make of his performance and then this offensive line as a whole?
Yeah, I thought Fleming played pretty. He gave you another workman-like day. I mean, I thought he fit in okay. There's a reason he's not a starter. He's got some issues getting his hands extended when he really has to run that wide rusher over the hump. And Dak to me still looks a little uncomfortable in the pocket, and I think that's hard for a young tackle because you got to know where your quarterback is, especially when you've got that side. But as a group today, I really did. I thought the Cowboy team just kind of gave you a workman-like effort. And I'm gonna backtrack just a little bit here because I thought Noah Brown. Let's go back to receivers 1 minute. I forgot this, Matt. But Noah Brown, they motioned him in about 8 or 9 times and used him as a fullback. And I was very impressed. I didn't know whether to grade him as a tight end, as a fullback, as a receiver. He ran a great route on the comeback out there. So I was really impressed with what he did from a blocking standpoint, and that's kind of why I'm talking about it from an offensive line standpoint, because he kind of put on that hard hat too today and went and did some things that I don't think he's real comfortable with in the same way that Fleming did.
Mm-hmm.
I thought this offensive line just kind of went to work today. And again, it's hard, man, on this short week to get guys ready to play. But I thought they just gave you a workmanlike effort and just kind of a B grade. That's the best I can do there.
All right, and let's hit the running back. Zeke's day and what he was able to do out there.
Yeah, Zeke is staying patient with his runs. I thought he still runs with great leverage. I mean, he finishes runs. I like that. I think Rod Smith. I mean, he does some things as a backup that really I think helped kind of give Zeke a breather here and there. I mean, he's a great route runner. I think, he's not afraid to get in empty sets and run some routes. And I mean, Zeke is an all-around football player. He can block. I mean, you saw him today. He chipped a few guys, picked up a few blitzes. Another, what I would consider winning effort, and I'm going to give him a high B for the job that he did.
Well, we certainly appreciate it. Any thoughts on the special teams? I think they were able to get Maher close enough to make him feel comfortable. Not a player I have much trust in, but he was able to knock that in. Did you see anything on special teams? I saw our favorite guy, Lenore. Go ahead.
Yeah, their coverage teams were the shits today. I mean, they really were, and that concerned me. I mean, they let a long punt return, and then after
touchdown.
Yeah, and they set up 2 touchdowns, right? Because on the long kickoff return, it also set up a touchdown, and that really, I'm going to tell you now, that's a big red flag to me when your coverage teams are not covering with the same, what I feel like is the same effort. I mean, I'm going to pin 14 points on the fact that they did a poor job covering the punt. And then after Zeke tried to put Dak in the red kettle, then they got the 15-yard penalty and had to come out and go cover the kick. And when you have to cover a kick, you have to, you've really got to stay disciplined with what you're doing. And I think on both that punt and the kick, the damn kicker had to make the tackle. So you know what? Special teams coverage wise, it was really poor. And it's the first time I'm going to get on Keith O'Quinn and that group because the coverage teams are going to get an F. I mean, it was bad.
All right, boy, I tell you.
I wholeheartedly agree with that. I'm glad we actually got to the special teams.
Well, I'm glad we got to it too. It was Thanksgiving. I didn't know we were going to have expletives, but Stretch, you sort of brought it there at the end. But hope you had a meaningful and special day, Stretch, out there. Got to spend it with your son and your rest of your family. What was your favorite item on the table today? Can you share that with us?
Yeah, I can. My mom melts a bunch of marshmallows over those sweet potatoes, and if there's any way I could IV it in, I'd just get me a straight IV and just plug them in. So appreciate you asking today, and hope you guys have a great Thanksgiving. Sorry I had to finish it on a little rough note, but sometimes you know what, you gotta change your verbiage and let guys know you're serious about the special teams, and it wasn't worth a tinker's butt, and that's that's what they got.
All right.
Your honesty.
Yeah, that's why we pay you the big bucks. Thank you, Stretch. Appreciate it, and we will talk to you soon.
And there he is, Glenn Stretch Smith with That's a Stretch. Ed, were you offended by Stretch's language this evening, or is it just, are you used to it at this point? I mean,
sadly, I'm becoming conditioned to accepting it. I ban profanity on my Twitter feed to get you blocked. It's one of 2 things that will get you blocked, the other being just generally disrespectful, especially to me. That'll get you blocked. But if you use profanity, it's an automatic disqualification.
I've heard you on the golf course. I find it odd that you hold it profanity against people, but it is the Doomsday Podcast, and as we get ready to close down
what do I
evening,
say? Look at that effing great shot.
That's right. Just the glow of this winning team, 6-5. They've climbed their way back 1 game over 500. And we haven't commented much about the defense other than to get Stretch's grades on it.
We purposely saved that.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
I mean, this was a strategy.
Yeah. I think you're admitting too much if you think we have a strategy. Ed, you talked to DeMarcus Lawrence after the game. He made an enormous play in this game, and they went low on him, and we're going to cut him in. They had a nice little screen set up out there. Ball game was still within reach. Was it 17-13 at the time? And there's the big man, DeMarcus Lawrence, D-Law, with the batted pass, and then has the coordination to make the catch. You were on somebody last week for not bending down and making the interception, one of those poor linemen. but it had to be.
It's the first play of the game. Matt Ryan threw it right to it.
It had to be nice.
It was Malik Collins.
I mean, the guy is.
And then you see D. Law, and he's like looking around for it in the air. He locates the ball. He catches it. I mean,
well,
the man knows how to play the game.
They play a different position.
Yeah, well.
But what'd you make of this defensive performance?
Well,
Cowboys continue to be one of the better defensive teams in the NFL.
I asked Lawrence about his interception, and I made the point that you just did, that the left tackle, Marcus Moses, or right tackle, was supposed to cut him on that play. And his answer to that was, I'm an athlete. I don't get cut. And then he said, and then I said, just kind of, you're playing a backup quarterback in Colt McCoy, who hasn't started a game in the NFL in 4 years. What kind of was your approach? And he said, we wanted to keep in the pocket, put pressure on him. He said, our secondary's been playing great, so we wanted to make him uncomfortable, which he was, he said. He said, we basically kept our foot on their throats from the beginning to the end, and you saw the outcome. And then I said, well, how do you feel about what you've accomplished in, getting back into first place, winning 3 games? He said, we ain't done. This is just the beginning. And, I do think you have to keep in mind that the Redskins were in a terrible position, having lost Alex Smith to that gruesome broken leg last week, and then 4 days later, they're on the road playing Dallas on a short week with a quarterback who hasn't really played. And even when he's played, Colt McCoy, quite honestly, statistically, is arguably the worst quarterback in the NFL. He has the worst winning percentage of any NFL quarterback with at least 25 career starts. He's won 28% of his games going into tonight, so that's going to be trending downward now, kind of like my 401k.
Yeah.
So you have to keep that in context. That being said, I think generally the Cowboys played pretty well on defense. I mean, they got a little sloppy once they had the big lead, and I'm sure the coaches will make a point of that. The other thing that distinguished this defense was that they were the only team in the league that had gone over 100 possessions against their opponent without allowing a quick strike score of 4 or fewer plays. And, of course, the touchdown pass to Vernon Davis ended that. So they're just like everybody else now in that regard in terms of allowing a touchdown. But DeMarcus Lawrence said in the locker room the other day when I was out there that the thing this defense has to do to be great, hey, they're 3rd in the NFL in terms of scoring defense. They don't give up a lot of points. But the thing you have to do if you're going to be a great defense is create turnovers, and they created 3 of those today. But it was against Colt McCoy.
I know, and you keep qualifying it. I don't think it's fair, whatever that percentage you said. I
28%.
know, but I just, when I think of like the Brandon Whedons and the Castles and some of these guys out there, I would still put Colt in front of some of those guys.
You might, but Whedon is one of the people on the list whose name I saw was above Colt
McCoy. That is amazing. Yeah, well, you would think he lost pretty much every game he played with the Browns. Wasn't good for the Cowboys. I don't know how he moved ahead of Colt. But Ed, we saw the Cowboys keep the Falcons, pretty high-powered offense, to 1 touchdown. You've covered and you know the Saints very well. We both know Sean Payton, but you know the whole crew there in New Orleans, and y'all share all those country music stars in common and have mutual friendships and all. Do you give this defense, after seeing how it's played most of the season, any hope of, at least keeping the Saint kind of slowing them down, or do you just
being competitive?
Yeah. Do you not give them any hope?
First of all, I mean, the quarterback's having a ridiculous year. He's been an MVP of a Super Bowl. He's 39 years old, and he goes into the game tonight against the Falcons with 25 touchdown passes and 1 interception. They have so much speed that they put on the field. Sean Payton rotates so many people in, creates so many mismatches. I mean, he's really genius at it. And the Cowboys don't have the benefit of catching their next opponent on a short week because the Saints are playing tonight too. So they're going to have a full week of preparation. And Sean Payton, he thinks he's got his best team ever. He thinks they're going to set the NFL scoring record. And he's going to want to come in here in front of Jerry and Jason and Cowboys fans and put as many points on the scoreboard as he can. And I don't know. I would have said no, but we're watching this game right now, and they're 2/3 of the way through the third quarter, and the Saints have 26 points against Atlanta. Atlanta's a bad defense. The Cowboys didn't make them look that way as much as I thought they would last week. But Atlanta's a bad defense. The Cowboys do have a good defense, but I just think the Saints are going to score 40 points, and I don't know if the Cowboys are up for that.
The only times I can remember the Saints, one of those road games against the Saints, Cowboys, they set a record for most first downs
40
in the history of the NFL with 40 first downs. But then before that game, 2 years before that, 2009, DeMarcus Ware had a neck injury.
Yeah.
He played in as kind of a situational pass rusher in that game on the road, and they actually took down a pretty good Saints team.
The Saints were undefeated at the time.
That wasn't when the Saints. That wasn't the year the Saints won the Super Bowl, was it?
But they were undefeated.
They were undefeated that year.
That was the year they went to Seattle and got beat in the first round.
That's it. So we will see. And Ed, now are you going to be down the sideline, or will you just be kind of?
I'm not sure where I'll be. I'm not working that game for Westwood One. I was at one point going to offer them to allow me to work for free because I was so interested in seeing the game once Des Bryant signed with the Saints. I mean, Des Bryant and Sean Payton coming here. I mean, I would give almost anything to be at that game.
I'm surprised they didn't take you up on that.
Well, I
didn't
ever offer it. I didn't offer it.
Okay.
And obviously, quickly Des got hurt, and my willingness to do so went away at that point. But there's a lot. I had a conversation with Sean Payton after he signed Des, and he explained the whole thing to me, and so I was going to be able to offer a lot of really great insight into that transaction, and it just didn't happen. So
no, that's good to know that you're willing to do certain things for free.
Des might win a Super Bowl ring for one practice in New Orleans.
That's true. It is the Doomsday Podcast. We thank you for continuing to listen. We're doing the biggest numbers we've ever done with the Cowboys on a roll, and you guys continue to listen all the different places. What are we on, Ed, right now? Pandora, Spotify. Pandora's new. They just did a deal with our platform. We want to thank Revolver. I want to thank Hodges Capital. They've been an enormous part of this. Ed, is anybody you want to thank? I think we ought to thank Mark Murray, our host for tonight's
I think you've
post-game.
done that, but yes, I appreciate it.
Have I done it too much for you, Ed?
No, I'm just saying
DJ
so sensitive.
DJ Ringenberg did a nice job.
Yes, he's bowing and praying
and continues to do an excellent job. Wish we could get him away from that horrific radio station. But happy that he's a part of this thing. And thanks to Frito back in the studios, Frito Nation Productions, of course. I'm Matt Mosley on behalf of Ed Werder and the rest of the gang. Good night from AT&T Stadium. Cowboys win 31-23.
Hey, it's Mark Goodman.
And I'm Alan Light.
On today's podcast, Record Store Day founder Carrie Colleton is joining us to discuss the April 20th RSD special releases.
Plus, we'll talk live with our audience, the Sound Up Pod Squad, and find out who still listens to vinyl. And some updates from the Beatles universe.
Oh, good. Sound Up with Mark Goodman and Alan Light, the only music podcast that matters. Get it on Pandora, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.